G'day expats, my name's Brett Evans. I'm the Managing Director of Atlas Wealth Management. We're the first Australian financial services firm to specialise in providing financial advice to Australian expats. With clients in over 18 countries, we quite often get asked a wider range of questions, and today we're going to talk about one of those questions that gets most frequently asked. How do you do currency transfers? What's the myths and what's the reality behind doing the transfers? And why would you use a FX specialist as opposed to using a bank? So we thought we'd get one of the specialists in to have a discussion with this. Please welcome Shaun from WorldFirst. Shaun's a Aussie expat based in Austin, Texas. G'day, Shaun.
Hi Brett, hi everyone, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Shaun. Mate, so let's just run through a couple of questions that we find are the most common questions that we get asked sitting in our spot, and let's dispel a few myths and provide a bit of feedback on how it actually works. Let's start with probably the most common question. What is an FX specialist?
Yeah, of course. So an FX specialist is essentially just that. They're a company that specializes in foreign exchange and foreign exchange transactions and international payments. So by working with an FX specialist, it means that you're getting a lot more product knowledge and a lot more detailed advice. And the industry came about probably about turn of the century, sort of around the early 2000s, when banks were really the only port of call, and then a few different companies realized that there was an opportunity to provide a very specialized service for businesses and expats and anyone who's transferring money internationally. So the analogy we sometimes like to use is like it's similar to a surgeon versus a GP, where the GP is the bank. They've got a suite of different products, or have a limited knowledge range across a range of different products and services. A specialist knows a lot more about that one area, and in this case that's foreign exchange, so they're able to offer more products, more advice, and due to the fact that it's all they focus on, it's generally a lot cheaper for those transactions because they don't have the overheads that big banks tend to have.
Well, that's I think you hit on a very important point there too, and for us it's actually the accountability of the transaction. If you deal with a bank, you might be dealing with three different people as part of the bank, but obviously using an FX specialist, you certainly get that one-to-one sort of relationship, don't you? So there's a bit of accountability and making sure that everything goes through smoothly.
Exactly, yeah, it's a real relationship, finding out what the clients need, what their future expectations are, and matching our products to align with those needs and expectations. It's not a one service fits all, it's all about that relationship and working with what that client needs and what's going to be best for the client, not what's best for the bank.
No, that's fantastic. So probably the next question that we get asked, and this is probably one that probably keeps people away from using an FX specialist versus a bank, is probably a lack of knowledge of how it works. So can you just quickly run through the process behind doing an FX transfer, the account setup, the actual making the transfers, timeframes, and those sort of things?
Yeah, of course. So to set up an account, it's generally pretty quick and easy, but if you are using an FX specialist, you need to make sure that they're fully compliant, and in that case, they would need you to set up an account. So any specialist would need you to set up an account, and they would conduct their own compliance and background checks. So in order to do that, it's usually a very simple process, a 10 to 15 minute online process where you sign up online for an account, fill in your basic details, name, address, date of birth, all that side of things. Very occasionally after that, you're asked to provide additional information, but that's a one-time setup. And once that account's set up, you then have access to that company's suite of products and services. So with us at WorldFirst, once you've got set up, you would then have access to our online system, and you would be assigned a dedicated account manager. And that account manager is a person that can speak to you about your needs and your transfers and lay out some additional products and suggestions for what might work. And or also if you're in a hurry or simply prefer to deal online, you would have access to the online system. And then when it comes to actually booking the trade itself, it's a very simple process. You would select the currency you wanted to buy, put in the amount and confirm the rate. Once that rate's confirmed, you would then send the funds to our local account. and we would release the foreign currency into the instructed account. So we essentially sit between the two bank accounts that you wanted to send between. And although that might seem like it takes longer, it's often quicker because banks will hold on to funds usually for 3 days from the trade date, whereas we'll release it as soon as we've got the incoming funds.
Quite often, the people sort of talk to us and they say it's just easy to do it online through a banking portal, but they've still got to make that transfer, I guess, and whether the transfer's internal in the bank or from their account to your account, it's still one transfer at the end of the day, isn't it?
That's right. So it's one transfer. You need to log on to your online banking and either send it to your internal accounts with your banks or to our account domestically. And I guess it really boils down to the fact, is it worth spending 10 or 15 minutes to create an account with WorldFirst or another FX specialist to save whatever the savings are going to be? And again, that's where we can help to quantify that prior to any account setup. But it's really the difference in time is about 10 to 15 minutes to set up that account initially.
And obviously, one of the main reasons people use an FX specialist is not only for the specialization side, but also for the savings side. I mean, quite often we talk to clients about it's the little things done right that give you the best return at the end of the day. And certainly the rates between a bank and an FX specialist is sometimes massive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, and banks are very opaque with their pricing, but you can sometimes see what's called their daily rate online. The big four banks in Australia usually range from a 3 to a 5% margin on major currencies and more on minor currencies. So we'll come in dramatically lower than that, often a half to a third of that cost. So if you're looking at a $100,000 transfer for a property purchase, for example, you could be saving $2,000 or $3,000 on that transfer. So in that case, it's definitely worth the 15 minutes to set up an account.
I guess that's where the biggest problem is these days is the FX market is still not as transparent when it comes to the upfront disclosures that the banks have to provide. And quite often you just assume that you're getting the best rate that the bank's providing, but in actual fact, because they are making that spread between the two currencies, they're making a killing.
Exactly. It's quite a hidden cost, and obviously the banks make a lot of profit from it, so they're not going to advertise the difference. But because it is such a hidden cost, we come in and try and be transparent, and we'll provide exactly what your margin's going to be and explain why we feel that's a fair margin for the transfer or for the annual volume predicted.
Okay. And look, I think people love to know, they love to pop the hood and find out who the people are involved in the process. Just tell me a bit about WorldFirst and what makes you guys tick.
All right, so WorldFirst was founded about 12 years ago in the UK, and since then we've grown quite dramatically. We've now got over 600 staff all around the world in 8 offices. The Australian office was founded about 4 years ago, and now we've got about 50 staff based out of Sydney. And essentially we've grown based on the facts I mentioned earlier, where we combine quick and easy technology to sign up for an account with top-notch customer service. So everyone's given a dedicated account manager, and if they're traveling for business or not in the country, they can always call the number of their account manager and someone else in a different time zone will answer, not in a call center, but in an actual different WorldFirst office. So you're always going to be able to get a hold of someone 24/7 for any questions that you might want to ask direct to a person. And that's really tied in with our FIFO rating. We've got an above 99% rating on FIFO, which is designed for users of a service that have actually used it. And basically what that 99% rating means is that 99% of people would use us again or recommend us. So that's something we're very proud of as well.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, if customers vote with their wallet and their feet, so if they like what they're getting, they'll continue to use someone, and vice versa. If they're getting bad service or bad advice, they'll walk.
Exactly, and word of mouth is such a strong part of our business, and as with any financial business, yours included, there's always going to be alternatives out there that are cheaper or slightly cheaper or position themselves as an alternative, but what you really need to dig down into is that relationship and what you're getting out of it.
No, exactly right. As we always say, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Exactly.
So, obviously we're covered off on how the process works, who you guys are. I guess the other question we always have that sits at the back of clients' minds is what safeguards are in place. I mean, obviously, is Shaun going to run off with the money and buy a beach house in the Caribbean, or how do you ensure that the client's money gets from A to B?
Yeah, of course. Great question, and something that comes up very frequently. So we're fully licensed and regulated in all the jurisdictions we operate in. In Australia, that means we're regulated by ASIC, and we have a Australian Financial Services License, or AFSL, so you can look up those numbers on our website. We're also part of FOS, or the Financial Industry Ombudsman, so if there ever was a complaint, you could go to the Ombudsman and they can help resolve it. In the UK, we're regulated by FINRA. In the US, it's FinCEN and state government or state-by-state licensing. So we take compliance and regulation extremely seriously. It's the backbone of our business, and we would never, step away from that if there wasn't anything fully compliant.
Okay, no, that's fantastic. I mean, I think that's the main concerns we get, and we often say to clients, whether you're dealing with a financial advisor or a planner, an FX strategist, any professional in this industry, make sure they're properly licensed, because there are a lot of sharks out there. There are a lot of people out there who are purveying that, or trying to purport that they provide a professional service, but at the end of the day, your only recourse as a client is having that license, but also having that restitution service like FOS with the Financial Ombudsman Service. Having someone who you can go to voice a complaint or a concern. I think the world is getting better in this space, but there's still a long way to go.
Exactly, and one other thing on that, from a trust perspective, is we've recently got a 5-star rating from CanStar in Australia for financial services. So that's another thing we're very happy about. It's always nice to win these awards and recognition, and the fact that it's on the compliance side of things is, it's great that we can show that we're continually working to make sure that our compliance and regulations are up to scratch.
No, that's good. I mean, a lot of people, will probably know what CanStar, quite often they rate the Australian banks on their mortgages or, bank accounts or cash accounts. So, those sort of things are incredibly important from just a peace of mind point of view, knowing that, someone's crawled through your business and obviously spoken to your customers and getting that sort of result anyway, which is a great result.
Exactly.
Cheers. Well, thanks, Shaun, for this evening. We don't like to keep these things too long. If you have any questions, don't forget to send me an email at info@atlaswealth.com.au. I'll also put the WorldFirst details in the field below. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We can look at organising a call with Shaun if you have any questions. And take care and have a great day.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, Shaun.